Joining us now to continue our discussion on the potential of a Biden administration and the impact it could have on the nation's coronavirus response is Justin Butterfield. He's a former senior advisor for the Department of Health and Human Services and current deputy general counsel for the First Liberty Institute. So, Justin, when we're looking at the Biden administration, the transition, what it's putting together right now, we see, for example, Xavier Becerra. We see that Dr. Anthony Fauci could have a returning role, things of that nature. Do you think that it's going to drastically change the U.S. response to the virus?
Well, some things could certainly change. A lot of the governmental response to the coronavirus is powers that the Constitution reserves to the states and the people. And so those aspects, I don't think anything will change because the federal government really doesn't have that much control over it in the first place. That's why we're seeing so many of the COVID-19 responses, the executive orders, coming at the state level. All the shutdown orders, all those things come from the state levels because that's where the Constitution puts that authority. Now, what the federal government does is distributes funds, issues grants. And one of the things that the Trump administration did that I think is really helpful here, that I certainly hope any future administration will continue, is they really worked to ensure that the religious communities in this country, which, the religious communities are often the closest on the ground, the closest to underserved communities. The previous administration, the Trump administration, worked really hard to ensure that those religious organizations who are there on the ground with those communities can work with the government without having to sacrifice their religious convictions. And so hopefully the next administration will continue those steps, will continue reaching out to the faith-based community, and will recognize the importance of working with the faith-based community to reach underserved communities without forcing those faith-based organizations to sacrifice their beliefs.
And of course, the man who could be leading that effort is Xavier Becerra, the current Attorney General of California, who has since been tapped by Biden to be HHS Secretary. When that first was announced, I know that there was a lot of pushback from religious groups saying that Xavier Becerra, for example, has been pro-choice, to say the least. I would say going against religious liberties in that sense, in the sense that he almost wants to make certain things requirements that they took issue with. Do you have concerns about Xavier Becerra and really his outlook when it comes to this?
Unfortunately so. Attorney General Becerra, as Attorney General of California, has attacked federal conscience protections that are just there to ensure that doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals aren't coerced into performing abortions against their sincere religious beliefs. He called those protections dangerous and offensive. He said he was all in on the fight against those federal protections. He's also tried to defend a California law that would require churches, mosques, synagogues, any sorts of houses of worship to provide insurance coverage for elective abortions, even when that insurance coverage violates those faith-based organizations, those churches, those synagogues, those mosques' sincere religious beliefs. So he has not demonstrated a history of respecting religious belief. He seems to want to impose his viewpoint on the world instead of respecting a diversity of beliefs that we have here in this country. And I'm very troubled about what he could do in a new role as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I hope he will continue to respect religious rights, respect a diversity of views, especially, at this time as we're in the midst of this pandemic. So many underserved communities are served by faith-based organizations because, if you're in a rural community and the for-profit hospitals have pulled out and other hospitals have pulled out and the only ones that are left are the faith-based hospitals, and they're there because they believe that it's their religious duty to serve those underserved communities. And now the government wants to tell them, well, if you stay, you have to violate your deepest religious beliefs. They're going to drive those doctors, those nurses, those pharmacists from the healthcare field, and we're going to get much worse healthcare in the underserved communities instead of better.
And Justin, I saw a very interesting poll the other day, and it showed that amid this pandemic, there was only one group that said that their mental health has at least stayed the same, if not improved, and that was people who go to church. And I say that in the sense because I think that is something that a lot of people need right now. I think that when we're talking about telling people that they can't go to church or can't open their businesses, it's under the same umbrella for me in a lot of ways. That is something that goes against liberties. I don't care where you stand politically. It's something that courts do have to acknowledge because those are things that are laid out in the Constitution of us having the right to do that. And usually when that goes before a court, I mean, it's strict scrutiny, something where it has to be a narrowly tailored option in order to make sure that whatever implement that you're putting out there is the only one necessary. Do you think that there's been an uneven standard applied, whether it's small businesses, places of worship, when it comes to a lot of these restrictions?
Absolutely. And, we at First Liberty are working to defend places of worship, churches. We have cases all over the country just asking for them to be treated fairly. We are seeing some of these, unfortunately, some of these state COVID-19 orders that are saying it's okay to go to a casino, to have a casino open, a mall open, a movie theater open, but not a church open. And that is really an affront to people of faith in this country. It's an affront to the principles that are enshrined in the Constitution. And, we at First Liberty are standing up for churches. We're winning. But it's unfortunate that at this time we're having to do that. And, we're going to continue to stand up for religious rights. You can go to firstliberty.org to follow our cases as we defend places of faith in their struggle to just be treated fairly, to just be treated like the mall, the casino, the movie theater are treated. But it's really sad what's happening. 2 years ago, I would have never imagined we would be saying it's okay to have a casino open, but not a church open. But unfortunately, that's where we are in this country now. And it's more vital than ever that we stand up and we say, no, that's not right in this country.
And the argument has been laid out incorrectly, in my opinion, in the media. It seems that, for example, if you want churches to open now, you must be pro-Trump. But that's not the case. I mean, there are plenty of Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, Democrats as well who want to go practice their worship as well. It's not a partisan issue. And I think that's why this is incorrectly covered sometimes, because really it comes back to whether you're an American or not and whether you can express your religious freedoms the same way that, as you astutely lay out, the same way that a casino can as well. I think that's the debate that should be had, more so about liberties than anything political that's currently being covered as well. But Justin Butterfield, I can't thank you enough for coming on the program tonight and breaking down these complex issues, because I know that the legal language isn't always the friendliest to break down, but you did an excellent job. Thank you.